Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to my tutorial on installing and configuring Pycharm on Windows 10. And this is a tutorial primarily for students in one of my Python related courses that I teach at the iSchools at UWM and the University of Illinois. So if you're a YouTuber who found your way here and you're not in my class, you're probably not going to find this all that valuable. So consider yourself warned. Okay. Um, so what the first thing we need to do is that we need to install um, PyCharm Professional. Okay. And before I do that, I just want to show you that I don't think I have it completely uninstalled. So Python has some JetBrains. If I go down to JetBrains, there's a program called JetBrains Toolbox. And even though I tried to install it, it doesn't seem to install. And that interferes with the installation of the new version. Okay. So if you happen to be in the same circumstances that I'm in, well, how do you disable this so that you're not going to mess up your install? Well, I discovered that today. You go down to your taskbar and you right click, and then you pick the task manager. Okay, and we don't have any running apps, but if we click down here on the bottom left on more details, we'll see that the JetBrains toolbox isn't running in the foreground, it's running in the background. So if we click on it, okay, we can go to the bottom right and do end task. Okay, and that means it's not going to interfere with the reinstallation of the product. Okay, it's unfortunate, but I lost a lot of time on that earlier this week. Okay, so I've taken care of that. The next thing we need to do is we need to get down the software that we're going to install. And let's do that. Let's open up a copy of Edge. Not because I like Edge, but because that's the official browser here. And what I want to do is I want to go to the weekly schedule page that has a link on it for where to get a license for PyCharm Professional and the rest of the PyCharm software that's available to university people like you and I. Okay? And if in your current course you go to, at least in the current semester, if you go to the weekly schedule page for week one, you're going to see down towards the bottom the activity for installing PyCharm, and there'll be a link to the place to go get the license. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to that weekly schedule page. You have a link to the weekly schedule page for our course, so you can go there and then go to week one. I'm going to get there through a more circuitous route. Um, here's the Web Frameworks course, and in week one, we'll see. Sometimes in this virtual machine, it's a little hard to click on things. We'll see and install a PyCharm Professional. We have a link for at JetBrains free individual licenses for students and faculty members, and I click on that, and I go to the page where you can say that cookies are okay. And you can see there's an apply now button. Okay. And perhaps it didn't hear me. Perhaps it did hear me and it's just being slow. There it is. Okay. And this is the form that you fill out. What you really want is you want a license to all their software because you'd like to be you'd like to be able to install anything you'd like to install. And you have to say whether you're a teacher or a student, and you have to give an email address that ends in edu and all those kinds of things. Okay. Now, I already have my license, so I want to go to the JetBrains main site and log in to the account that I got when I got my license. So I'm just going to go up to the logo for JetBrains, and that's going to take me to their main site. And if I go over here to almost all the way to the right, there is an account icon that looks like a person. And if I click on that, you'll see I'm not currently logged in, but the account is typically your email address. Certainly your email address will work. So the one I'm using right now is the one at the University of Illinois. So I have that. And I'm going to copy my password out of my password manager and put it in. And then I'm going to sign in. Okay, so here I am. And you can see I've got two licenses. I've got one that's really old for RubyMine, and then I've got this JetBrains product pack for students. That's the one where you can get well, I don't think you can get all their products, but most of them, including Pycharm. You can see that here. And whether it's still called exactly JetBrains Product Pack for Students or something similar, I don't know, but you should be able to find it. Okay, so when you're here, here's how you download. Just right under the name of the license is the download link. So you go there. Now you could install an individual piece of software like Pycharm, or you could do what I prefer, which is to go down to the bottom and install the Toolbox app. I'm a big fan of the Toolbox app. So we're going to go down there. We're going to click on the link for Toolbox app. And we come to the download for this. And this is an executable installer that's an exe file. So I'm just going to click on download. Okay. And down at the bottom, I'm going to choose save. And it's finishing the downloading. And it ran the scan. Okay, so now we want to click on open folder. And now we can see the installer for the Toolbox. So at this point, I've done all the web things that I'm going to do for a while. So I'm going to close my browser. And I'm just going to come over to the Toolbox. And again, I'm going to just have to double click on it to run it. And I just want to remind you that I didn't succeed in running this install the first however many times I tried it because the Toolbox was already installed. Okay. And I couldn't get it to uninstall no matter what I did. So I went down to the task manager and you'll remember I came down and I didn't have it looked like that at the beginning, and I did more details, and then I found the piece of software and I clicked the end task button. So that's how I resolved that conflict. Having resolved that conflict, or if you never had this thing installed before, well, then you're definitely not going to have that conflict. But I'm going to go up here, double click on the Toolbox installer, and here's the dialog. So on the first panel, I'm going to click install, and it's going to install. Before I resolved that conflict with a copy of it already having been installed, it would go about 1/8 of the way and it would get stuck on a file. So run JetBrains Toolbox. I'll leave that checked. I click on finish, and it's going to open the Toolbox panel. Okay, and that's coming up over on the right hand side. That's usually where it comes. I'm just going to close the file manager and the task manager. I don't need those two. Okay, now you can see down here on the taskbar that I've got an unresponsive virtual machine right now, so I apologize for that. Let's see what we're able to do. Should be back in a minute. I wish virtual machines were a little better behaved than they are. And from time to time they get better and worse, depending on the releases of the various components. Okay, so here we go. What am I going to do? Well, let's go down to the start menu. Okay, and let's find JetBrains Toolbox. Okay, and we have that here. And let's just right click on it. We don't want to pin it to the start. We want to pick more, pin to taskbar. So there's the toolbox right there. So to open the toolbox, we click on that icon, and there it is. I finally got that thing to close. I'm going to click on that again to see it. And here's a list of all the things that we can install. They're not currently installed, which is why that's the option. There are 3 versions of Pycharm. There's the educational version, Pycharm EDU or EDU as I call it. There's a Pycharm community. That's a free version as well. The paid version is called Pycharm Professional. We use it in all my classes because in the Django related classes, this is the only version of Pycharm that supports Django. And why not drive the expensive car as long as we can use it for free? So the one that we're going to install is Pycharm Professional. We click on Install. And you can see down the bottom that it's already working on the install. Down in here. And on my machine, that works pretty quickly. We're down to about 7 seconds, at least on the download. Alrighty. You know, I watch pot never boils. I'm going to put you guys on pause. Okay, we're back. The install just finished. And if we go back to the top, you can see the installed products are, there's a list of them at the top. One of the things I really like about this is when there's an update available, it often tells you, but you can always check by going to the toolbox, and if there's an update available, there are some kind of icons over here that kind of look like this. The icons here for install, and they say update. And there's even a way to, if you've got more than one product installed, there's a way to update all. And when there are new versions of the toolbox, there's a link up here for that. So it's a real handy app. So we've got PyCharm Professional now. How do we start it? One way to start it is to go look for it over in the menu that comes from the start button. So let's see if we can do that. Let's go here. So let's go down to JetBrains Toolbox, take the drop down. There's a PyCharm Professional. So again, I want to add it to the taskbar. So I'm going to right click, go to More, Pin to Taskbar. So that's on the taskbar as well. That's where I like all the things that I run. Okay, so now we've got it installed. Now we need to show how we configure projects. The first one that we're going to do is a basic Python project. That's all that we use in the Introduction to Python course. When we've got that done, then I'm going to invite the people who are in the Intro to Python course to leave if they would like, or stay if they want. And then we're going to go in and we're going to configure a project for Django for use in the Django related courses. Okay, so let's start up PyCharm. Just click on the icon on the taskbar. And it's a little bit of a slow starter. It's going to show up here in a minute. There it is. That's the splash screen for PyCharm. Do I want to import any old settings from previous installs? I say no, do not import settings. Okay. Okay, so we get an opportunity to pick our user interface theme. I don't like the Darkula one. I go with the light one. It's up to you. Okay. And I want to skip the remaining and set the defaults. Okay. And now it's going to pop up a dialog where I pick, I'm either going to open up a PyCharm project or I'm going to create a new one. Okay. And I want to create a new one because we don't have any PyCharm projects on this machine yet. Okay. And we have to tell what type. And the first one is pure Python. So that's good. Okay. Now, we don't just click on create. We need to do some work first. Okay. First of all, you need to manipulate the path expression such that it points to a place where you would like to keep your PyCharm projects. Okay. The default is your user ID / PyCharm projects. I'm going to leave that as it is for now. Okay, now the next thing is the last part is the project name. Now I wish there was a box for the path and then a box for the project name, but there's not. So if you just say you want to create it, you're going to get a project called Untitled or Untitled 1 or Untitled 2. You definitely don't want that. Okay. So we're going to call this, what are we going to call this project? I'm going to call it my first, not wrist, first PyCharm project. Okay. Am I done yet? Not done yet. Okay. We need to configure the interpreter, which is going to point to the virtual environment that we configured. Okay, so click on this. I guess you can click on the thing that says Project Interpreter. Good. Now, do we want a new environment or an existing one? We want an existing one because we built it already in the last tutorial with Anaconda Navigator. So come down here, click the button for existing interpreter. Okay. Does it have one that we can use? Nope, not on the list yet. Okay, so click the ... button. Okay, now here it comes up. On the left side are all the different environments you can use. Okay, the first one, virtual env, it's very popular. It's the one that's kind of built into the Python infrastructure, but it's not what we're using. So you want to pick the second one, Conda environment. Okay. Now, it shows us a suggestion, okay, which is pretty cool. It doesn't do quite this much help on the macOS version. E4 Trainer Python course. And then it's pointing to the python.exe within that. Yeah, that's it. That's what we want. It's got the right information about Conda. The only thing that we need to do is to check the box that says, make this environment available to all projects. Because especially in the Introduction to Python course, we're just going to use this over and over again. So check that box, click on OK. OK. You can see it populates. So Python 3.7 E for Trainer Python course. That's perfect. Come down here to the bottom, click on Create. And we'll see some things loading. It gives us a tip. Okay, that's good. Now, something that you'll see and how long you'll see it will depend on how fast your machine is. But look at the bottom. We can see that it's doing some work. It's doing this indexing, okay? You'll find that when the Pycharm infrastructure is at work, that Pycharm can be kind of unresponsive, okay? So you can certainly try to do things while it's doing some work down here, but sometimes you just get frustrated. Okay, so I got a couple of things being offered to me. Do I want to update the plugins? It has one called Data Lore. Yeah, I'll update that. So I'm going to click on Update, and I'm going to say yes, update it. Okay. Do I want to restart Pycharm? Not yet. Okay. It says that Windows Defender might be impacting my build performance. Well, that's kind of stuff that's going on right now. Okay, I'll try to fix it. So I'm going to click on Fix and Configure Automatically. And it says it wants to make some changes. Will I allow it? Yes. And now that's kind of gone away. Now, I could tell this, and it said the Windows Defender configuration is updated. That's good. Do I want to do a restart of Pycharm while I've got all this work going on down here? I don't think it would break anything, but what I usually like to do is I like to see that settle down before I do something like a restart. Okay. Looks pretty quiet down here. So let's click on the restart link over here. Restart. It closed Pycharm. I'm hoping it's going to open it again. I can't say I've done that a whole lot. And Pycharm's a little bit of a slow starter, especially on Windows. Um, the products from JetBrains are all based on Java, which is why they're so terrifically portable and run on a lot of operating systems. But Java historically is not fast to start. And so PyCharm, being a Java app, is not fast to start. And particularly on my virtual machine, it's a little slower yet still. So it takes a little bit of patience. Okay, so now we're being offered tips, and that's good. So let's close that. All right. Um, I'm going to come over here and click on that so it takes up the full window. Okay, so where do our programs go? Well, our programs go under the project directory, which is the top line under project. And if we click on the little arrow to the left of it, we can see we don't have anything in there yet. Okay. Now let's right click on this and say we want a new, and we want some kind of file. We want a Python file. So just a Python file. And it wants to know what the name is. And let's call, I'm going to call it goodbye underscore cruel underscore world. Okay. And then I'm going to press enter. And it creates the file and it opens it in the editor panel here. Why did we call it Goodbye Cruel World? Well, way back when the C language was created in the late 1960s, some of the creators of the C language created a very influential textbook in which the first thing that they taught the reader was a program called Hello World. And the tradition has been ever since when you're teaching somebody how to write a new programming language to teach them how to print out Hello World. Well, that's getting a bit old. So my version is to say, goodbye, cruel world. Okay, so typically we begin a Python program with two comment lines. One, it just has the name of the file. This is what we do in my class. So goodbye underscore cruel underscore world dot py, because Python programs have a .py extension. Okay, now how do we turn that into a comment? Well, if we wanted to do it manually, we would have just have started it with # space. Okay, and now you can see it's turned gray. It's a comment. Now the second line that we want is going to be a comment as well. I'm not going to put a # space, so you can see there's an easy way to toggle things in and out of comment state. So I'm going to have a simple statement of the intention of the program. Demonstration program to print message on console. Okay, that's good. So how do I turn this into a comment? Well, if I highlight it on Windows, I can press hold down Control and then slash. And what's interesting is you can do whole blocks and you can toggle them in and out of comments. And you're going to find over the course of learning Python that that's a helpful thing to do sometimes, especially when you're debugging. So I can take these first two lines and highlight them, control slash them. Now they're not comments. They're not proper Python either, so we're getting a lot of red underlining to say it's an error. And now I'm going to control slash them again, and now they're comments. Now it's time to start the program. We're going to have two blank lines because that's the official Python style. And we're going to have, this is an approach to writing Python programs that's very well accepted. We put our main code into a function called main. So we say def, that says we're defining a function. Main, that's the name of it. Empty parens, that's saying it doesn't get any arguments or parameters. Colon, that says it's the beginning of a code block. And then we go down to the next line. The code in the function is indented, so we're just going to on the indented line we're going to say print and parens for what we want to print, single quotes, and we're going to say goodbye, comma, cruel world, period. Okay, that's it. Okay, then we're going to have two blank lines after that because there should be two blank lines before a function and two blank lines after. And then out at the margin again, we're just going to type main, paren. What does that say? Well, the very last thing it says, run the function called main. Okay. Now, can I stop right there? Almost. I need to press enter again so that the file ends with a new line, so that the very last line is an empty line. Okay. Can I put something on this? No, it's gonna consider it's a style problem. Can I put a bunch of spaces or blanks on here? No, it turns out that's a style problem as well. You can see these little squiggly gray lines are going to tell us it's a style problem. Okay, just one empty line at the end. Okay, that's good. Now, do I have to explicitly save it? You don't. Just click on another line in the editor, and as soon as you do that, you'll automatically get a save. Okay, how do you run it? Well, click on this editor panel here, right click, and then about halfway down, run goodbye cruel world. And look down at the bottom, a console pops up, and we see the output, goodbye cruel world. That's it. Pretty good. Now, is there anything else I want to point out while we're here? Yeah, I want to point out that we know that we don't have any Python syntax errors. So we know that we use the language correct because we don't have any red underlines. So for instance, if instead of print we had accidentally said print Z, we'd get a red underline, okay? And if we hovered over it, it says unresolved reference print Z. Okay, so let's look in the upper right corner of the editor panel is an indicator of the state of your code. And this says it found one error. Okay, that's bad. If you want to find the errors or the warnings, you can go down and look for these lines. So here's the one error. Okay, and we already saw that before when we hovered over that. Okay, so we're going to take out that Z, go back to have it say just print, and look, over here it's turned into a green check again, so that means that's a program that doesn't have any errors, and these little lines are gone too. So those are true Python syntax errors. What if we just don't follow the style guide? So the style guide says, for instance, that we need to have two blank lines before a function and two blank lines after. So if we come over here and we delete one of our blank lines before, you're going to see, if we click somewhere else, you're going to see that we've got sort of a beige square up here. It's going to say that we have 1 week warning, so that's a style guide warning. Even though it's a week warning in our class, we don't want that, so we want to get rid of it. And then if you want to know where it is in your program, just go down and find where the lines are, and there it is. And it says PEP 8, which is the name of the style standard. Expected two blanks lines found 1. So again, if we go over here and add that extra blank line, that's it. We'll have the same problem if we don't have two blank lines afterwards. For instance, if we put a third blank line, it'll complain about that. And again, to change the state over here, if you want to hurry it up, you can click somewhere else in the editor. Okay, and if we go here over the line, it says, oh, that has too many blank lines. It's got 3. Okay. All right, that's fine. And what if we do that thing that I said, what if we don't end with just a new line, which gives us an empty line? What if we hit delete and move back? What happens? Well, it doesn't like that either. It has a PEP 8, that's a style warning, no new line at end of file. So simply by continuing to improve your program until this right side has nothing over here but a green check in the upper right hand corner, that's how you get rid of both syntax errors, which are serious, and these style warnings, which are serious to us as well. Okay, so that's it. Now, if we wanted to run it again, we could right-click it in the editor again, and we could click on Run Goodbye Cruel World. But I just want to point out a large part of programming is you write some code, you test it. You change the code or you add a little more, you test it again. What if you've already run this one time and you already have this console down here? Well, there's a run again button. Okay, if we hover over it, it'll say rerun Goodbye Cruel World. And if we click on it, it'll run it again and again and again. And we'll use that quite a bit. Okay, so that is all that we need to do to configure a basic Python project. That's what we use in the Introduction to Python course. If we want to close it, we can come up here. We can do a lot of things. We can click the red X and it will close the whole window. We could also go up to the menu and click on File, Close Project. And then it would come back to the dialog where we could ask it what to do. So here, that's all you need to know if you're in one of the Intro to Python courses. If you are in one of the Web Framework courses, please hang around. Okay, because we're going to create and configure a Django project. Okay, so let's do that. So it's a new project, create new project. It's not pure Python, it's Django, so highlight Django. Okay. And I want to point out it's very easy to do a little bit of the work over here on the right hand side and create too soon. If you create too soon, then you're going to have to do more fiddling in order to get your project properly named and properly configured. All right, so make sure that whatever we have over here, you've done something to each of these three things. So, do we want it to be called the project to be called Untitled? I don't think so. So I'm going to call this one my underscore next underscore Django underscore project. Okay, so that's good. So we have a proper project name. It's not going to be called Untitled. And then we want to pick an interpreter. Now, the interpreters are the Python interpreter is inside of these virtual environments. So what we're really doing is we're picking the virtual environment. And you can see it's using the one for the Python course that's not the one we want. So we want to click on this line, okay? And it says, oh, it's using an existing interpreter. And we look at the drop down. Do we have a drop down for the one that we want? No, just the one for the Python course. Okay, because we haven't been to the Django one yet. So what could we do? Well, right here we can click on the three dot button, and that's going to open the dialog for configuring the environment. Remember, it's not a virtual env, it's a conda environment. I used to make this mistake a lot. So conda environment, and look, it's pretty good at guessing at the one that we want. Now, why this happens, I don't know, but it seems to work pretty reliably, so I like it. It's the one for the Django course. This is the directory that has the conda software in it. That's good. One more thing to make it easier to do this in the future, just check the box, make available to all projects, and then say OK. Are we done? No, we're not done. There were three things to do. We've only done two. Okay. There's more settings. Okay. If you want to shrink the area for Project Interpreter, you can come up and click on that triangle. And let's click on more settings and open that. So what does it say? Template language Django, templates folder, templates, that's good. Application name. This is a way where you can name your first Django application. We're not going to do that today, but that's something that you would often do in the future when you're creating a new Django project. And the checkbox for enable Django admin. So you want all that to be done. Okay. Now, are we ready for create? Yes, we're finally ready to click on create. And you're going to see it do a little bit of work. Again, look down here along the bottom, two processes running. Okay, so it's doing some work. There are all kinds of things it might want to update. And it's warning us again that the Windows Defender might be scanning those directories. I tend to take fix, configure automatically, and then we usually get confirm. Yeah, here's the confirm. We say yes. Okay. There's a way to turn off Windows Defender. I'm not going to recommend that, but I do know some people who've done that from time to time. That's all I'm going to claim. Okay, and so look at the bottom. It says updating skeletons for, these are parts of the infrastructure for this project that are still being downloaded and built. Okay. Now, don't be surprised that if you go to run the test server for Django, and these haven't completely downloaded uh, and updated, don't be surprised if you're not getting the kind of behavior that you expect to get. Okay, so let's just watch this complete and see if it calms down. It's scanning them. Yeah, it looks like it calmed down. So what do we do next? What? We don't accidentally click on something. That's for sure. Up in the menu there, click on Tools. Okay. And we have this run manage .py task. Okay. Now this is what will put you into manage .py, where you do a lot of administration things for your Django project, including run the development server, which is all we're going to do here. We're just going to prove that we have it properly installed. Okay, what if you don't get this? What if you come up here and you can't find a run manage.py task? Well, two possibilities. Possibility one, all this stuff at the bottom is still loading. Okay, so have some patience. Possibility two, maybe when you configured the project, you didn't successfully tell it that it's a Django project. Okay, because it's a Django project now. If you look here, this is a Django. It's got the typical files. This is kind of the this is just the base files that go into a new Django project. Well, how could you be sure if you're not seeing run manage.py up here? The next thing I would do is I would go up to the menu and I would click on File, and the preferences in the Windows versions are called Settings, and it'll pop up a dialog box. Not fast, but it will. Okay, and then the last thing, way down here, Languages and Frameworks. Okay. And then within what drops down from that Django. And you can see this one is properly configured. Enable Django support has been checked. Django project root is the directory for our project. The settings file is within that project. There's a file called settings.py, and that's what gets pointed to. That's a standard file. Okay, so this one's properly configured. Another time you have to do this, the first assignment we do in the Django course is we do some work with these Django Girls tutorials. And if you follow their instructions directly and you don't use Pycharm to create your project, then you might get to the point where you want to do some testing and you want to run the tests with Pycharm. And when you open up the project, well, it's not really fully configured. So this is a case where you have to come to Settings, Languages and Frameworks, Django, and you will have to do some things there. So if you properly did everything when you created your Django project on Pycharm, this should be properly populated. But sometimes we forget to go down there and check. Or if we've got a Django project from someone else that hasn't been created with Pycharm, we're going to have to go do this part manually. Okay. Now, again, when you have it properly configured, you should be able to go up to the menu, click on Tools, run manage.py task, and what's going to pop up is going to be a console down here for manage.py. And manage.py is an administration program for Django. And one of the things that you can do, this little console that we have here feeds the commands into manage.py. And there's a command called run server, RUN, and of course we get autocomplete. So I'm just going to click on run server. It's a double click. And because there are other possible arguments, we have to hit return. And now it's going to work a bit. And we've gone past the part where we would be able to see. Let's expand this. We've gone past the part where we would be able to see the link to our server. So it says starting development server uh, on localhost essentially. If we click on that link, it should fire up our default browser and we should get a page like this. So this is a page that you get when you start a project on the development server and you haven't really built anything in the project. We haven't, all the things that we're going to learn in the web frameworks course about how to build a Django project. You haven't done any of it yet. But this is the way to make sure that you've created a proper Django project and you have everything successfully installed. It says the install worked successfully, congratulations. And that's it. Okay, so let's close the browser. Are we done? Well, no, we're not absolutely done. We haven't stopped the server, okay? Sometimes the server can continue to run even after you've closed Pycharm. And that's a problem. You go to start it the next time and it says the server's already running, and then you worry about what you have to do. Typically, you have to find a way to stop it, and then you have to start it up again. There is a little bit lower down. Let's close that message. A little bit lower down, there's a message that says, I don't know why we're not seeing all this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. Right after the line that says, it gives you the link for the server, it says, quit the server with the control break. Does that work in this environment? The answer is not. I'm going to do, for instance, a control C or a control D. Those are things that should break it. Why is it not working? Well, it's not working because we're running the development server under Pycharm, and Pycharm is intercepting those keystrokes. Well, how are you going to stop it? Well, look over here on the left side of the console is like a VCR stop button. It's that red rectangle. You stop by clicking that. And then you come back, you've stopped the server, and now the server, manage.py is ready for the next command. Okay? So, pretty cool stuff. So we have created a Django project. We have connected it up with the proper virtual environment that we had created with Anaconda. We configured the project to be a Django project. We were able to start the manage.py process, and then within that we're able to give the run server command and get a link, and with the link we were able to fire up our default browser. I did this last time too. Why can't we reach this page? Well, we stopped the server, didn't we? Okay, so let's close the browser. How would we start the server again? Well, we have a line here. We can just say run server again. Run server, paren, not paren, enter. And now this is what it looks like here. Now, if we click on the link, now there's that page again. So again, I'm going to close the browser after that successful test, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to stop the development server, and that's it. Now I can close the project. In fact, I'm just going to say here, file. Nope, I'm up controlling my virtual machine. File, close project, and then we come back here. One of the things to know about Pycharm is it keeps a list of the projects you recently opened. So we've got the first project, my first Pycharm project. That was a regular Python project, and then we've got the more recent one, the Django project. That's it. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this over the course of the semester. This is all you need to know for now. So I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.